Hi, I'm Nick, and I run BarRaiser, where we help companies make measurably stronger hires within 6 months. Today, I'd like to discuss 5 best practices that are going to help you improve how you screen candidates for your upcoming interview loops. If this is interesting information for you, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. So let's get going with the 5 best practices to run interview screens. Best practice number 1 is to set an interview screening hiring bar. Needless to say, I'm a big proponent of setting hiring bars. I don't believe it's best practice at all to compare candidates against each other. I've spoken about this on a different video in this channel. However, the hiring bar that you set for the interview loop should not be the same hiring bar that you set for your interview screen. The bar for the interview screen should be lower, and it should effectively entail, can this candidate inject enough doubt in the interviewer's mind that they could raise the company's hiring bar during an interview loop with 5 or 6 interviewers. Best practice number 2 is to set the mix of your behavioral versus functional questions for the screen ahead of time. Usually, a best practice for the interview loop is that 70 or 80% of the questions should ideally be behavioral questions versus 20 or 30% functional. For the screen, I would suggest you even out that mix to about 50-50, because functionally you want someone who will do the job. You do not want someone to come in and be at a loss of what to do. So while character and behaviors and how they stack against the hiring bar, those are basic meat and potatoes and fundamentals of the behavioral interview process. At the screen level, you should dial up that functional component a bit more. Best practice number 3 is to set a backup interview screen if the initial interview screen has doubts. So usually if companies move quickly, if they have a lot of positions to fill, or if they have few positions to fill but they want to fill them quickly, then one interview screen is best practice. However, on certain occasions, you may want to add a second interview screen, just in case if your initial screener is not as experienced, or if they have a very conflicting viewpoint of the candidate. Throw another interview screen out there and focus the area of the second screen to elaborate and clarify the areas of concern from the initial interview screen. Best practice number 4, and that's a bit of a challenging one, is to not let the hiring manager be the interview screener. Why is that the case? Because the hiring manager inherently has a number of hiring and interviewing biases. Even if the hiring manager has the best intent and wants to make the best hire, they have a number of deadlines that they need to resolve and milestones that they need to hit. Most likely they're behind with their product release or what have you, and they're naturally inclined to overlook certain deficiencies maybe in the candidates' profiles. That advice is challenging because nobody else other than the hiring manager is more motivated to run those screens and fill the position. So you gotta have to find somebody who's just as invested to make the hire, and that's not very easy. But again, a good practice is to not have the hiring manager be the interview screener. And best practice number 5 is to track the performance of these screeners. Track how candidates who are screened by a certain individual, how they perform during their upcoming interview loops. And if you find out that the same interview screener releases candidates who later on wash out during the interview loop, then you know that's something you should address. Washing out means a candidate who receives all no hires from the ensuing interview loop. So if you find out that an interview screener has consistently underperformed, then it's a good practice to pair them up with a bar raiser or a culture champion at your program, or somebody who's very experienced and understands your culture well at your company, and then maybe have that bar raiser shadow the screener for a number of interview screens just to make sure that you recalibrate their performance. Again, interviewing people is expensive, and you don't want to let people in the door who would then waste the team's time for a full day and walk away empty-handed too many times. That's it. I hope this video has been useful to you. If it has been, please follow us and subscribe to this channel. Ask us questions along the way, and best of luck as you raise the bar on your best interviewing and hiring practices at your company. You got this. Bye bye.